you so much. You may be seated. What a special occasion this is. And it truly is a privilege to extend a warm welcome to this evening's honorees, their proud families and friends who are in attendance for this rare and special ceremony. I want to take just a quick moment, if I may, to make some comments and some observations about who we are as a community. I am mindful that a city writes its own history. It earns its reputation, if you will, through its acts, its leaders, its ideas, its events, but probably most importantly, by how it responds in times of crisis. This human narrative that is created truly captures the spirit of a community and helps shape its future. Allen Park has already demonstrated that it is a city that overcomes. It is a city that transforms. And it is a city that rises up and comes together in the midst of difficult circumstances and together carves out, navigates, if you will, a new road for a positive direction. Tonight, we have in the midst of us not just overcomers, but individuals who recently reminded us of what bravery and courage looks like, what boldness and determination in the face of very real danger is, of how the city of Allen Park defines fearlessness, perseverance, grit, integrity, and heroism. We are here to celebrate 6 individuals who demonstrated the very definition of valor through their extraordinary fearlessness, perseverance, bravery, courage, grit, integrity, and heroism in the face of a horrific fire which occurred September 15, 2014 at the Leo Peluche Senior Housing Apartments. The city is pleased to be honoring these extraordinary heroes with the Medal of Valor. At this time, I would ask Andrew Hill, the Executive Director of the Leo Peluche Senior Housing, to come to the podium and share his perspective with us this evening.
Thank you, Karen. Mayor and Council, appreciate the opportunity to represent the Housing Commission here tonight. Tonight, we celebrate all that is good and right about Allen Park. We honor and recognize outstanding employees, their heroic efforts of the Allen Park Fire personnel, and the vision and guidance of our friend Chief Doug LaFont. This story actually begins June 3rd, 2008. The Allen Park Housing Commission had undergone some changes and brought in new management, and a meeting was held with our accountant and lawyers to find out where we were at the time. But a more important meeting was held with David Boomer and Doug LaFont to assess the conditions of the Leo Peluche apartment building structure itself. Both David and Doug discovered that the attic fire breaks had been breached by some contractors years ago, probably had kicked their way through while laying some cable to the apartments or phone wires. Both of these gentlemen strongly encouraged the Allen Park Housing Commission to make the repairs quickly and as soon as possible. And this issue was taken to the Board of Directors of the Allen Park Housing Commission, and the funds were allocated from other projects to tackle this emergency situation immediately. The Allen Park Housing Commission contemplated several expenditures when we received funding from the stimulus bill that we heard about from Congress. in 2009. The Housing Commission received approximately $80,000, and you can only imagine that we had some fun ideas of how to spend that money in the community, and some of them included patios and new furniture and landscaping. But again, we had a meeting with Chief Doug LaFond, and he suggested, and we took his recommendation, to buy fire doors, boring fire doors for the apartments. Well, I love history because history is what it is. In the world of politics, many people like to judge issues with hindsight. Well, in hindsight, Fire Chief LaFond made the right recommendations. And in hindsight, the Allen Park Housing Commission made the correct decision to purchase fire doors with the grant money, and in hindsight, those choices helped save lives. On Monday, September 15, 2014, the Leopold Apartments caught fire. Unit 59, which is located on the second floor, was burning sometime at 5 a.m. The Allen Park Fire Department was on the scene within minutes to assess the situation and begin putting the fire out. Captain Hughes made the initial assessment upon seeing the fire to contact mutual aid to get backup and further assistance. I arrived on the scene approximately 5:05, and upon entering the east wing of the building, I already noticed that Chief LaFond was in the other wing of the building, clearing the apartments and attempting to save lives at the very beginning of the fire. He proceeded to try to get to the second floor, which at that point was full of smoke. When the chief came down, he assessed the situation and called 2 more departments to join. So at the time, 7 different cities were on the scene and worked seamlessly through a command center that was established and assembled in the parking lot directly in front of the fire. Not a single fire personnel was hurt or injured during the evacuation process or in putting out the fire. Approximately 20 residents who were senior and or disabled residents were evacuated as planned through the second-story windows. The fire breaks in the attic held the fire exactly in place, and the fire doors allowed our fire personnel the time for an orderly and safe evacuation of the property. The Allen Park fire personnel honored today risk their own safety to enter a building to save lives. It's counterintuitive to enter a burning building. I remember second guessing myself as I was working my way in the east wing through the smoke about why I entered the building in the first place. But these individuals, and the individual sitting in the first row here today, do this on a regular basis. Second nature. To put this event into perspective, when it all comes into the fire department, it's most likely for a single-family home where a fireman and their crew may be looking to evacuate 1, 2, or maybe 3 people. It may be a business empty at 5 a.m. In that case, all we have to do is control the fire and put it out. At a 61-unit senior apartment complex, it presents to the community the worst-case scenario. We house seniors and disabled residents, some of the most vulnerable Allen Park residents there are. This was one of the largest evacuations and efforts involving the mutual aid, and the search and rescue efforts involved multiple rescues by our firemen recognized here tonight. They went up ladders again and again and again to rescue individuals at 5 in the morning through windows. It was a heroic effort by heroic individuals, not seen before in my lifetime or in the history of Allen Park that I have studied. Our residents, their families, the Allen Park Housing Commission, our entire community, and I could be no more proud of the work of our safety personnel. The fire department, as well as the police department, performed on a horrific day admirably. But the work they perform every day is sometimes overlooked. Remember that approximately 60 residents and their pets were evacuated safely And although we had planned for residual heart attacks or strokes, and maybe even an additional death at the evacuation scene, once we evacuate the property, our public officials, our fire personnel, and emergency crews were on standby, evaluating the situation, the residents' need, and we were able to get them help on a case-by-case basis. It seems each election cycle we hear a few bemoaning citizens about our underworked and overpaid fire department. We have heard discussions from candidates touting part-time fire departments from year to year. Let me assure this community that on September 15th, we were grateful to see a full-time, well-trained, advanced life support fire department on the scene. It made all the difference in the world. Chief LaFawn, your leadership, years leading up to this incident, and your leadership in securing the proper training and selection of your staff, and your leadership the day of that fire shines brightly for this community to see. We are forever grateful to you and your department. I personally am grateful to call you our fire chief, and I'm extremely grateful to consider you my friends. I'm here tonight on behalf of the Allen Park Housing Commission to commend you and your staff and offer a big thank you from all of our residents. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Before the certificates and medals are presented, I wanted to give all of us the criteria for being given such a distinguished award. The Medal of Valor is awarded to our Allen Park Firefighters for extraordinary valor above and beyond the call of duty, involving extreme risk of their own lives. In the history of our department, this is the first time such awards are being given. Each certificate being awarded today says as follows: the Allen Park Fire Department's Medal of Valor for heroism above and beyond the call of duty, fighting a fire at the Leo Peluche Senior Housing in the city of Allen Park on September 15, 2014. At this time, we are going to present these certificates and the medals, and I'm asking the city administrator to come forward, but I would ask you to hold your applause until all the firefighters have received their awards, and then we will give them a well-deserved. The first firefighter to receive his Medal of Honor and his certificate is firefighter Michael Estrada. Second, engineer Jane Colas. Engineer John Dabbs. Sergeant Jeffrey Haddon. Finally, Captain Joseph. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, let's give these brave men a wonderful round of applause. So I'm going to just ask the people who are not relatives and friends of the firefighters this evening to please have a seat, and let's recognize all these families and men that learn about these men and women. At this time, it is my high honor and pleasure to assist in the presentation of one more Medal of Honor. Before Chief Douglas Lafond comes forward, let me tell you something about his service to our city and the downriver communities. He has been an Allen Park firefighter for 19 years, rising through the ranks from firefighter, engineer, sergeant, deputy chief, fire inspector, to chief in 2010. He has served on the chief squad for the Downriver Mutual Aid, where he is currently its chair. Also, he has served on the Downriver Fire Investigation Task Force. He is married to his wife, Shelley. They have 10 children and 6 grandchildren. September 15th, 5 a.m., the chief shows up at the fire with a typical crew of firefighters, 5 men. Assessing the gravity of the situation, he calls in additional personnel along with Captain Hughes, where we finally had 7 departments assisting us, raising our total manpower there to about 25 people, as I could count that morning because it was pretty chaotic. But also they provided equipment that was very necessary. 3 more ladder trucks, more EM10 EMT units were provided. The ladders helped speed the removal of residents from the 2nd floor. EMT vehicles gave us more units to transport residents to the hospital for observation and/or treatment. The chief remained alert to all matters needing attention, deployed all personnel and equipment appropriately, and was able to extinguish the fire quickly while evacuating all residents from the facility. Unfortunately, 1 resident lost her life. But for the chief and dedicated firefighters' effort, it could have been much worse. Their quick work saved lives and minimized the property damage at the facility. So at this time, would our chief come forward? Folks. Thank you very much for coming and participating. With the honor guard now, please escort our honorees from the council chamber.